Hello everybody, this is ONG Productions right over here, and today I've got the Sony Ericsson Xperia Arc S for your viewing pleasure. It was released in August 2011 as a minor upgrade over the Sony Ericsson Xperia Arc that itself was released in February of 2011. The only difference between the Arc and Arc S is that the Arc S here has 400 MHz on top of the 1 GHz single-core Snapdragon S2 SoC of the Arc, and it also has slightly faster 3G data speeds. Otherwise, the Arc and Arc S are virtually identical. On the front, we have the proximity sensor, the earpiece, the Sony Ericsson logo, a 4.3-inch FWVGA LCD with mobile Bravia engine support, the back key, the home key, the menu key, as well as the Xperia logo. On the left, the very unusually placed 3.5mm headphone jack. On the right, micro USB port, volume keys, shutter key, and on the bottom we have the loop for you to place a lanyard strap if you wish. On the top we have the power key, as well as a micro HDMI port for you to connect a micro HDMI to HDMI cable to a HDMI source such as a TV or monitor, and enable you to cast what is on your phone display onto the big screen. On the back, I don't have the back cover, but as you can see right over here, we have the 8MP camera with LED flash that can shoot up to 720p videos max. Here is one of the two microphones. The other microphone I assume is at the bottom. It's for stereo sound support if I'm not wrong. This is the mini SIM card slot, the micro SD card slot that supports up to maximum 32 gigs, the loudspeaker, and this is where the battery, the BA750, resides. It is of 3.7 volts, 1500 mAh. Alright, so let's turn it on. I forgot to mention that the Sony Ericsson Xperia Arc S is the last model produced under the Sony Ericsson name before Sony bought over Ericsson's shares in the Sony Ericsson joint venture and integrated it at Sony Mobile Communications in 2012. The Sony Ericsson brand name continued to be used briefly in Japan for the release of the Xperia NX and the Xperia Acro HD, which were the Japan releases of the Xperia S and the Xperia Acro S respectively. Alright, we arrived at the lock screen of the Xperia Arc S. We swipe to the right to unlock the phone, and we swipe left to enable silent mode. Swipe right again, we get back to normal sound mode, and now we swipe to unlock. My Xperia Arc S runs on Android 2.3.4 Gingerbread. It can be upgraded to Ice Cream Sandwich, but as of now I've not been able to find a way to upgrade it to Ice Cream Sandwich anyway, sadly. So it runs on Android with a bit of Sony Ericsson's skin on top. I do think that the skin is quite nicely designed for its time. But unfortunately, since a lot of the Google Play services no longer work on Android Gingerbread, so this phone is not really very useful these days other than for making basic calls, texts, and maybe surfing the internet once in a while. This is Timescape. Unfortunately, most of the APIs behind Timescape no longer work, so I can't really show you how it functions. But what I can see is that when the servers that enabled Timescape were running, you could have aggregated all your Twitter feeds, your contacts, your Facebook feed, your Foursquare feeds, your SMS, your Twitter feeds, all in one handy widget and app itself. But first, let's take a look at the ringtones. Next, let's take a look at the wallpapers. Now let's take a look at the themes. Next, let's take a look at the camera. The right strip contains a preview of your last taken images. When you swipe right, you can see even more of them. And on the left, you can adjust a few settings, but they are not very sophisticated in any sense at all. It's quite basic. You can't do anything like change the ISO, change the shutter speed. It's quite basic, I suppose. You can also enable sweep panorama and 3D sweep panorama. I tried the sweep panorama and the panorama algorithm is just simply horrible. You cannot really shoot panoramas almost like 90% of the time, and you need to be perfectly precise in order to do one. The 3D sweep panorama is, I think, is a very gimmicky feature since it requires you to have a 3D TV to work, and nobody really watched 3D television even in its prime. So I don't think anybody using the Sony Ericsson Xperia RS would use this feature as frequently as Sony Ericsson might have wanted. And it also doesn't have a 3D depth sensor, so I think the 3D effect will be just crap. If you want to take videos, you would just click this tab and you'll get maximum 720p video, but you can also change between full wide BGA, which is the native resolution of this Xperia RS, BGA, quarter BGA, and multimedia message, which I assume bumps the resolution down all the way to QCIF. You can change the focus mode and have a photo light, which is just the LED light from the back here. So I'll waste no time any further and show you some camera samples and video samples I got from the Sony Ericsson Xperia RS. All these samples were taken by me and not by anyone else. So this concludes my presentation on the Sony Ericsson Xperia RS. As the last phone ever released under the Sony Ericsson brand, I must say that it's a bit underwhelming for it being the last phone. It could have been a better finale if they had put things such as a dual-core processor, 1GB of RAM, a front-facing camera, and a higher-res back camera that could do at least 1080p video recording. They saved the best for apparently the Xperia S that came out as a successor of the RS in early 2012 and that I recovered in my previous videos. But that's all I can say about the Sony Ericsson Xperia RS, and if you do like my videos, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and don't forget to hit the bell icon so so that you'll be notified of my videos as soon as they come. And thank you. And I'll see you soon in the next video.